Astrology. 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 Hey.
Bonjour. Welcome. Hello. ¿Cómo estás? And buongiorno. All that good stuff. We are recording this a couple days before the winter solstice here with Rodney Goodwin, but we're going to be releasing this, pretty much on the eve of thereabouts, and looking forward to every time to speak with Rodney. He's got such a depth of experience, wisdom, knowledge, and then some. And Leslie, how you doing over there in California?
Doing good.
You got a lot going on over there too, so yeah.
Yeah, glad to be here. I have my cat on my lap, and she's very fickle. So if I spaz out,
she doesn't like me much. I tried, but yeah,
she's a crazy little thing. We'll have wild. But Rodney, I'm so glad to see you and to have you back on our show.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah, it has been a little bit, and I'm inspired every time I hear you share about the astrology, and your depth is so broad and deep. Your understanding of this and how it applies to our lives, and how we can use the astrology to really guide our own power and find our true path. So
yeah, it's as old as breath itself.
Yeah, it's amazing. So glad to have you here. And let us know what's going on in the stars as we're entering into this.
Well, we're definitely. I don't know if you guys have been feeling these dimensional shifts, but we're definitely in some crazy transitions that are definitely going on a collective level, and we're going to get into some of that and why it's happening, because there are reasons. And of course, the solar spiral is a prophet itself, and so it shows us and teaches us the things that are setting up for into the future, so to speak, and what's signaling. And so when you're looking at a collective aspect, which is what we'll be doing today, you kind of begin to see how all of these energies affect the collective mind, and how the choices then are set up to that for humanity itself. So humanity is at a crossroads. We know that humanity's got to be able to make some choices here in the next year, major year, in context to cycles. So when we're dealing with these type of energies, we're dealing with big energies, and these are huge energies. As you guys know, we've been having major solar flares, major activations on Schumann resonance. We've been having major aspects going on with planetary orbits moving into new gates. Next year, of course, we're going to have the North and South Node moving into Pisces. So that's going to be very interesting. And as you know, we still have Neptune and Saturn transiting the Piscean gate as well now, which is creating a lot of push and pull in context to what's real and what's not real. And so sometimes when you're looking at things, you're like, gosh, is that real or is that not real? What, is it illusion, or is it, is that actually like real? And so it unless you're grounding yourself and being able to really forge your purpose in your soul incarnation, you can get caught into a lot of snares, traps, foxholes, ditches, those type of things, and get derailed. And even people doing this work, you have to be very, very grounded. Next year, you better ground your ass, because let me tell you, the transition of next year, the shit that's going to present itself, it's going to be crazy. I mean, we're already seeing glimpses of it right now, getting into it. So what are we coming into? We're coming into the world axis now. which is the winter solstice. That's Capricorn at 0 degrees. Now, what is that? What does that mean? So the axis mundi, or the world axis, are the cardinal signs. So right now we're dealing with Capricorn. And what is Capricorn? Capricorn is mastery, discipline, and it's the long game. So we're looking at Saturnian energy, of course, when we're looking at Capricorn. And we're also looking at the world axis, which is the only point, because the sun moves 1 degree, each day going across the, zodiac wheel, except for on the axis mundi points, which would be, Cancer, Capricorn, Libra, Aries. So we get a 3-day movement here, when we look at it, like Jordan Maxwell would explain about why, how they put the Christmas, the 25th, right? Which corresponds to the 21st, which is the 3 days where they get the 3 days of resurrection and all that of the Christ and all that. See? And so that's what we're dealing with here in context to what? For the sun to move back from the southern hemisphere back to the northern hemisphere. So it sits in that point for 3 days. So this is what we're dealing with when we're dealing with the 0 degree Capricorn energy. So that is the world axis. This is the long-term game. And this is the space. Of course, it's on our hemisphere, it is the darkest day of the year. So this is the place, what I call of the actual, let's just say it, it's the actual womb of manifestation. Because what is Capricorn? It is the earth magician. It is the space where you are manifesting a material aspect, a spiritual aspect, through the mental and spiritual intent of your mind. So what are we doing? We're manifesting now. We're coming into a place of the 0 point energy in the Capricorn gate of manifestation, where we are going to begin to set the tone for the next 3 months into the equinox, which brings us into the balance, and then to the summer solstice, which brings us into the manifestation point in context to the initiation of that which we are setting intent for now. Does that make sense? Because now we're looking at the longest day of the year. The Cancer gate is the sun and the moon, because what does Cancer represent? What rules that? What is the Lord of Cancer? The moon. So when we're looking at the moon, we're looking at the Cancer gate, that's sun and moon, that's the summer solstice. This is the point where we are manifesting, our soul's purpose in context to our mind and our emotions and thought and emotions. Does that make sense? So when we're moving through the world axis points, right? This is how you have to look at it in context to balance, harmony, when we're looking at Libra, Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn. That's the 10-4-1-7 axis points. So this is what we're getting into anytime we're looking at the winter solstice. And this is why we do ritual at these points.
With the Yule tide and all that, you mean?
Yule rituals, right, exactly. But also, the day before these energies are actually presenting themselves on the axis point is where we want to step into our ritual aspect. So on the 20th is really where you want to start setting your intent for what it is that you want to manifest, want to bring forth into your personal life, in context to the next 3, 6, 9 months, a year, to this aspect. And when we're looking at that, we're looking at the womb here. We're looking at the darkest day. We're looking at a space where we've got to look at it intent to this 0 point energy being the place where we are going to set forth into motion now through the intent of our mind what it is that we want to accomplish. Where do we want to be? Where do we want to go? Where do we want our lives to go? On a collective level, we've got to begin to see the intent of in our mind's eye of, in our first eye and our third eye, what we want to see on a collective level with the planet. See? And this particular solstice is all about our galactic heritage this year, coming into this aspect, because of where the planetary aspects are setting. So when we're looking at Capricorn, when we're looking at, Saturnian energy, everybody like gives us the googly eyes when we talk about Saturn, right? Because everybody's, so tripped out about, Saturn being the Lord of Karma, right?
Yeah.
Good old
Yeah.
Kronos.
Limitations, delays, the taskmaster, all those great names that Saturn's got. But also Saturn is the place where the work is forged. What you put into it, you're going to get out of it. That is karma. That is the dharma karma aspect when we're looking at what are you actually outputting with your consciousness on an internal level in context to what? Vibrational correspondence. This is how Saturn works. So when we're looking at vibrational correspondence and what we're actually beginning or wanting to begin to manifest now, or you may have a long-term goal here that you're trying to set in context, and now you can add on to it here as you're fine-tuning things. So let's say you're fine-tuning certain aspects with goals and intent that you have been setting for whatever it may be. This is the space where you can add on, subtract, bring the vision into a clearer space of intent, and then do the ritual with that, and understanding that this is the space where you bring that thought energy into its seed form. This is the place where you plant it, so to speak. Capricorn's earth energy, right? We're dealing with earth magic. So this is how it works. Got any questions?
I have a question about ritual, and I think some people get stuck there and they're not sure, how to create a ritual, and maybe they'll look something up online and take a ritual from some tradition. But I'm wondering if you have a approach to ritual, if you were to boil it down to the most important aspects of what makes ritual powerful, what would they be? And how important is it to make it your own, I guess, from your opinion?
Well, it's just like anything. You can go to a book and pull a ritual out. You can go to, a plethora of books and pull out certain types of rituals for certain types of situations. We call them spells, right? But to me personally, being with my my heritage and lineage going into the Druid aspect and Albion, being of Irish and English origin with my bloodline, that's what I would personally work with are those type of energies. That's why I have Stonehenge in my restaurant, because that's what my bistro, that's what I have. That's my heritage. Right. So I'm working with my bloodline on a collective level, on a public level now. See? So I'm inputting that into the collective mind on a public level in my area. Does that make sense? So people, whether they know it or not, they come in on an unconscious, subconscious level. They're staring at something that is important to me. Okay. Yeah. And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that I have put a lot of time and energy and magic into in context to clearing the bloodline upon my mother and father's side. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To my actual bloodline itself and healing that. I put out a video a couple weeks ago about this, talking about, healing the trauma in the blood and what is the purpose of the incarnation? Why are you in your bloodline? Yeah. Why are you incarnated into that bloodline?
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's why it's so important to drive the narrative to discover your heritage and where that goes, because that's what religion cuts you off from. Religion will cut you off from that heritage and tell you to adopt that particular energy. And so you bypass your actual bloodline and manifestation of clearing, and healing the actual bloodline that you're in.
Yeah.
That's what it does. And that's why we're all so fucked up, because no one's been doing that work.
Yes. I agree with you, Rodney. This stuff that's been coming up for me a lot too. And as I'm finding out more and more about my lineage, it really feels very grounding and does give me this direction, right? What you're saying really resonates as something meaningful, to rediscover, to somehow feel within, something that is ancient and from our origins.
Yeah, and this is why the psychological and actual physical manifestations of the the cutting off of the bloodline in context to taking it back to the whole birth of Catholicism and the whole birth of Constantine and the canoning of the Bible and the Inquisitions. All of this was designed to be that very cause point of cutting humanity off from their bloodline itself. See, and that's why you have the blood cult or the blood cults of Zionism. When we take it back to Christianity and Islamism, they're all rooted in blood cults, blood sacrifices. And so when we're looking at that, that is the issue in context. The issue is in the blood. And as far as I'm concerned, our ancestral blood is still crying out for a resolution to how we in our kind were slaughtered in context to the Inquisitions and all of the actual trauma that was set forth within the bloodline to keep us locked down in the Tesseract and locked down from the sixth dimension down in context to Virgo. So when we're looking at Virgo, what are we looking at? We're looking at the actual ceiling or the actual demarcation point of the lockdown itself. And what do you see being spun out 2020? The needlecraft, when we looked at that aspect, that Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius, that's set in 2020 at the winter solstice. That was set in, and then now we're getting what? We're getting squares off, and every time we seem to get a square off with Saturn and Jupiter, we get some bullshit coming out of some kind of new virus or new this or new that. See, and so they're working with this aspect. See, on the dark Sith level in context to keeping humanity locked down in what? Pharmakia. Right. And the pharmakia is that aspect to the physical body of how they are keeping the big pharma going, but how they're harvesting the energy in context to our health. This is why Virgo becomes so important, because you have to understand and understand that without your health, you ain't got shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to protect
nothing. You got nothing.
Yeah, there's a really interesting quote of, everyone has a gazillion problems, but as soon as you have a health problem, you have like one problem going on.
That's
maybe
it.
Financially with the, healthcare issue of, a patient cured as customer lost type of philosophy or psychopathy, if you will. But yeah.
Right, exactly. So that's what we're dealing with here, with that Virgo gate. And of course, the moon is going to be in Virgo on the solstice. So, so when we're looking at that type of deal, it's going to be opposing Saturn at 14 degrees. Saturn's at 13 degrees. So we have that opposition with Moon and Saturn, which is that matrix aspect in context to that health gate. See? And so when we're looking at this, it's signaling something to us that possibly there could be something coming on the next square off with Jupiter and Saturn. Which, where's Jupiter? It's in Gemini. Saturn's in what? Pisces. So we've got that square coming up now. See? It's happening. It's going to be happening beginning of January. So we're looking at something here that could possibly take place that is another psychological operation that could be rolled out in context, okay? But the key here for everyone who's doing this path work is to keep your mind focused on your soul's progression work and not get caught up in the bullshit. See? So when we're looking at what's actually happening, what just happened? Pluto just moved into what? Aquarius, November 19th. All of a sudden, Pluto moves into Aquarius, going to be there now till 2044. what's happening in the sky, guys?
Little sightings of orbs and
Everywhere. All over the world, all of a sudden, and now they're having the hearings, and then a couple days from now on, this UFO thing, and so so it's like all of a sudden the Aquarian energy just bam kicked in, and that's Aquarius. It's everything that's out there,
Wow.
That's Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? It is it's the tinfoil hat, man. So when we're looking at that Aquarian energy, that's what's going on in context to the psychological operation. You got to have discernment, guys. You can't get caught in what's going on in the skies. Remember, it's always vibrational correspondence that's taking place. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to get us desensitized to things in the sky. Duh. See?
Way beyond blue beam bullshit, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes sense. It's like coming back to the simplest thing in a way. We don't have to do too much fancy speculation. It's just like, people are going to start looking up. They're going to get used to seeing these things, and then what are they going to do? Either up there or down here, while we're looking up.
Well, that's the thing is that, Aquarius is a fixed sign, but it's an air sign, right? So when we're looking at air, it is an aspect of your mental, the mental mind of the all, and it's the higher aspect in context when we're looking at air magic, or how you are constructing things, or how consciousness is being constructed. And what are the constructors of consciousness on the solar spiral? Jupiter and Saturn. Where was Jupiter and Saturn on 2020? 0 degrees Aquarius, which is being ignited now again with the Plutonian energy at 0 degrees Aquarius. You see how this is working?
Yeah.
Fresh beginnings.
You see how this is
of the spiral back to like some either maybe ending beginning of the plan, like maybe like another aspect of their plan.
Well, yeah, but see what we have to realize is that, like clockwork, they're going to use the zeitgeist, the energies of the zeitgeist, the energies of the ethers, to bring forth a psychological operation in context to what those energies are manifesting. You see?
They're trying to swing the pendulum to their nefarious sides or whatever, right?
Right, because this is how the psychological operations work. So if you can get people on the ride, see as many people as you can get on the ride, right? That are going to ride that pendulum swing, the more energy that can be harvested. And this is how this works in context to the soul spark or the soul progression, and keeping people locked down and not getting the ignition that they need to have that first eye then come open, so they can actually see what's going on. It's one thing to see that, all these videos out, you see them, all the reels and all this stuff, they're talking about this and they're talking about that. They're not awake. They're just seeing things in context to conspiracy theories that they're bringing forth that could be true or could not be true. They may be real and they may not be real. But see, that's the cycle. See, that they want to get us on now. That's the looping. It's just on a different cycle. The timelines are separating, guys. I mean, there's separation, more separation coming next year. So, and the further that separation point begins to happen, the further away it becomes, the more actually in tune those who are actually doing this work become, and that awareness then becomes much more like pinpoint, very accurate to see what's actually going on. But until you get ignited and you actually get that internal aspect of what your soul is and who you are and your soul progression work and why you're here, then until you get that ignition and that gnosis taking place within your life, you're going to get pulled into these psyops, man. You're going to get pulled into all the bullshit, and so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing Pluto move into the Aquarian gate, And now all of a sudden, since November, what have we had? We just had, all this crazy shit going on in the sky.
So Aquarius, air sign, the winds of change, right? And yeah, they're trying to blow the winds towards, their psyoptic logic, as I like to say. But, at the same time, like the Great Awakening and all this stuff, yet, it's like blowing hot air up people's arses, sometimes, like, what's up with that? So there's a lot of, airy fairy type of stuff in regards to like the air sign. Where is the proper heart intelligence, the first eye heart-based intelligence, intelligence, the integrated intellect, from experience and actually being on you mentioned being grounded, being in the air. Yeah, like I have a lot of air in my chart, and so
right,
it's easy to be up in there, but being grounded and all that stuff, especially for what's coming in this next year. So if you want to comment on anything like that, Leslie, if you got something.
Well, that's why, taking it back to Leslie's questions about ritual, and ceremony, this is why we do it, because it does ground us. See? And that's the whole point of doing it, is to act out or work with your templating and your bloodline and where it takes us in context to that ritual. See? Because that's what's going to ground you, right? And then once you clear out all of the attachments to your auric field, and you are able to clear that out, and that's why we use sage. That's why we use Palo Santo. That's why we use these earth elements, rosemary and different types of herbs that we burn and that we work with or digest or ingest. This is why we work with those herbs, because they are grounding. Salt is grounding. Put your feet in the ground, that's grounding. We use these techniques to ground ourselves into the reality of who we are. See? Not what's going on out there or up or in the sky, but what's happening inside of us. See? On the internal dialogue. And that's the whole point of ritual itself. See? And so the ritual then acts as the cause point or the ignition point to that grounding. So when we're looking at Capricorn energy, we're working with earth energy, and that is grounding. And so it's a cardinal earth sign. So that's the whole point of being able to then bring manifestation, because if you're double-minded or your auric field is hijacked in context, you aren't going to manifest your intent or in context to what you want to see in your own personal life. You're going to be manifesting what they want you to manifest, because that's who we are as humans. And in context to the mind, all is mind, right? I mean, that's the first cosmic principle. So when we're looking at the mind, we're looking at what is happening on the inside. That's why they reverse the polarities in context to that. Instead of being as within, as without, it's as without, as within. That way they can control the spindle of the collective mind and keep us on the loops in context to the 8. See?
Yeah, in context to Gubernari, mind control, and propaganda.
It's all right there. Yeah.
Whole 9, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. And interesting enough, when we're looking at next year, what number is it representing? It's representing 9, 2025. So, so that 9 then becomes, so next year's energy, if you want to look at it in context to the calendar, is the 9. This year is the 8, keeping us on the loops and cycles. Next year is the 9. So this is my what would I call that? My kind of like trumpet sound to all the mages out there.
Clarion call.
Clarion call. It's time to step it up next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I say it every year, but next year especially, because next year it's time for us to start to have an impact on the reality field. We've been doing internal work. I get it. Been doing shadow work. I get it. We've been doing, working on ourselves, trying to bring ourselves into a position. But, all this infighting going on and bullshit, we got to stop that, man. That pointing the finger at somebody because you don't think they line up with your theology or what you think is truth, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Take it back to the actual principle of what truth actually is. It's not your truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
See? And that's the problem, is that if you're not actually incorporating and integrating true principle within your mind, then you are going to point the finger at someone else because your narcissistic tendencies are going to rule your mind.
Right. Is that likely to happen more so in this coming year? Is there anything that's showing that leaning towards narcissism?
Well, if you want to pull up the chart, we can get into the T-square a little bit. We can take it back down, but I can get into that really quick.
Yeah, let's look at it.
Yeah,
Let's
buddy.
get to the nitty gritty. Yeah. Purdy.
So right here, I kind of in blue, I kind of lined it out here a little bit. Okay. So we've had this is the chart of the solstice. I mean, this is quite a chart. I mean, first of all, we've got a grand cross. If you guys see this here, that's opposition with Moon and Saturn. And then we've got this square off here with what? Saturn and Jupiter. And then that's squaring off with Moon, coming down here to Mercury, and then back over to Saturn. Okay. This is called a grand cross. This is very powerful energy. But what I want to kind of look at right now is this T-square. So we have the sun here. That's 0 degrees cap. And then we've got that going and squaring off to what? Squaring off to the north node in Aries. Okay. Now we're talking world axis points here, guys. 2 degrees there, 2 degrees north node. Okay. 2 degrees south node. 0 degrees here with the sun in Capricorn. So this is an axis, world axis point. All right. So when we're looking at Aries and the north node, which is kind of like a collective north star, right? What are we actually looking here? We're looking at our independence. We're looking at our sovereignty. We're looking at the aspect of our spiritual journey, because it's what? It's conjuncting Neptune at 5 degrees. So this is the time for the spiritual warriors to grab a hold of their sovereignty, their free will, their freedom, and begin to step up into the light. This is what this is signaling with this T-square. Now, back behind this north node here is a dwarf planet called, what's the name of it? Manwe. Now, if you understand, Manwe was used in Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. But what is Manwe? Manwe is, it's like the creation, they're like the creation story. Manwe and his wife Freda were the creators of the universe. And they created it from darkness, out of the womb into light. So the theme here with Manwe is the liberation and freedom, and stepping into your purpose and stepping into the light, and light overcoming the darkness. That's what the theme is in context to the spiritual warrior aspect when we're dealing with Neptune in the conjunction. Or are we going to step into the shadow aspect of Libra, of the South Node, to the go along, get along, man-pleasing, people-pleasing bullshit? And just whatever comes, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. That's the South Node in Libra on the shadow side. So this T-square is signaling something to us as mages. It's telling us that it's time now to step into the light, guys. We've been doing the shadow work You can take it back down now. We've been doing the shadow work. We've been doing the internal work. We've been working with our bloodline. We've been working with, the higher force. We've been doing the circle. We've been doing all these things in our lives to bring forth the manifestation of our lives. But we're on the world axis here, guys. This is the world axis point.
The big stage.
Right. So it's time to make a collective impact upon the world now. See? Not just out for myself, trying to make a living doing this stuff and trying to keep a roof over my head. It's bigger than that. The picture is bigger. Pisces is the big picture. Neptune's sitting in Pisces. This is our healing, our spirituality in context to this conjunction.
So Pisces and all that, like people should, with their cups filled, should be of service to others in regards to, like trying to help out on ground level, make that ripple effect to the macrocosm.
Right, because what is the axis point of Pisces? Virgo, which is service to others. That's the 12-6 axis. When we're looking at it, see, in context. So it's signaling that North Node on a collective level, when we're looking at navigation to the North Star, is saying to us with the conjunction with Manwe, damn, you guys, it's time to come into creation. It's time to create and step into the light and bring forth the truth of who and what we are. Why do you think these psychological operations go on? They're not for the NPCs. They're for those who are actually stepping into their destiny and to their purpose on this planet and holding the wave of consciousness to transformation and transfiguration of the human race. This is why this is the choice of humanity. See? And so until we start having a collective impact upon the mind of the all, we're going to continue to see this bullshit go on and on and on until we step up as the magicians of this planet and in this reality field of who we are. You got to know who the fuck you are. See?
So is there any indication of the best ways to do that? Like how to make this impact?
Well, if we're going to continue to point fingers at each other, it ain't going to happen.
Right. We have to stay very focused on our mission.
Yeah, and everybody has a different role to play, man. My role isn't yours.
Yeah.
You got to know what that is.
Yeah,
I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now because I stepped into that. I stepped into that shit on my Saturn return, on my return of the year of the dragon energy in context to my dragon energy to the Chinese astrology. Everything lined up with me, my Saturn return, my Jupiter return, my dragon return, and I forged this in context to that and to create that auric field in context to my area. You see what I'm saying?
It's a bel sol.
Yeah.
It's the beautiful sun in context to bringing forth what I'm just talking about here.
Yeah, which it is our sun, which is guiding our individual.
Either you're going to be blinded by the light or you're going to walk in it.
Yeah.
And how do you walk in the light? There is a scripture that I really like, and it's called the Logos, which is what? The ignition of your sun is a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. But if you are driving into the sun and the sun is blinding you, blinded by the light, right? Then if you're being blinded by the light, you can't see. But
is there something to that one song?
But it's the false light. See?
And it said that if you look at your feet, then you're not blinded by the sun, and that would represent your action.
And your feet is your Pisces. See,
yeah,
that's your big picture. That's your spiritual aspect of your life. It's your Jupiter, or it's your Neptune. It's your Jupiter in context to your spiritual expansion.
Yeah.
See, that's what the feet represent.
Mhm.
And so when we're looking at that, we've got to start to realize that, a lamp unto your feet, because your feet are the representation of what? Of your walk, your journey, your soul progression work, where you are standing and where you are walking towards.
Yes, beautiful.
See? Yeah.
Mhm.
Staying grounded, right? But yeah.
And being grounded and using them to ground. Right, exactly.
And it's
Right.
a true in nature when you're hiking, in the mountains, you do need to make sure you're watching where your feet are, or you might step on that rattlesnake, that's in the path.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or any type of landmine for that
Yeah.
matter.
It kind
Yeah.
of reminded me of the hermit card because, normally he's kind of like looking down and he's like lamps shining on his feet also in a sense, But what's that one song, blinded by the light?
Oh, Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Yeah, like does
Yeah.
that apply to anything you said a second ago? But yeah.
Well, that song is kind of really just about, the music industry itself and how you can get blinded by the gold, the glitter, the girls,
Yeah,
the
all that
glamour,
bullshit, yeah.
all the fame and fortune, all that. You can get blinded by that. You're blinded by the false
False light
light.
bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wrapped up like a deuce in the rumor of the night. I mean, the deuce is a car. It's a really nice car, fast car. You get into, you feel good because you're in a fast car. And wrapped up with that, you get wrapped up in that, and you get wrapped up in the rumors of it. Which is all of the gossip and all the stuff that happens with all this stuff. I mean, what are we looking at, guys, here in context? Fallen angelic aspects to Hollywood, all of the vampiric aspects that we're dealing with right now, and this is part of the false cold light programs that are running to blinding people so they can't get the actual ignition of their own lamp. See?
Distractions.
Yeah, so keep the distractions coming, keep the psychological operations going, keep the people on looping behaviors and cut them off from their bloodline and their ancestral energies, keep them from who they are, and they will serve their masters well.
Yes.
And that's why this winter solstice is so important for us. Because it's signaling, especially with Manwe being in conjunction with the North Node now at 2 degrees. What are we looking at here, man? We're looking at it's time to step into the light, man.
Yes, and it's a responsibility, I think, if
It
you're
is.
listening to this podcast and following, Rodney, and not doing some action. It's time. It's time. We all need to, get in the game, put skin in the game. Hopefully, you've been doing your inner work. Now be brave, right? The courage that's needed to step up.
It is, and this is this next year is going to be an initiatory year in context to this. So they will throw everything that they have, including the frying pan, at us next year. We will see, I mean, this is, with Pluto moving into Aquarius, we're going to see, this is going to be major shattering events. Shattering paradigms are going to take place next year. Shit that you would be like, what the fuck? That shit's been going on? I mean, literally shattering paradigms are going to take place next year. And if you're not grounded, people aren't going to know whether they're coming or going, man. They're not going to know whether they're in the house or outside of the house. They're not going to know it. They're going to be like, what the hell,
Yeah, it's like, buckle up, get ready for it.
And so that's going to drive them into more of the, of the dystopian shit that they put out there in context to this. More football, more games, more escapism to those who don't want to step up to the reality. They just want to take this life off.
Yes.
They want to take it off, and they don't really want to forge anything. They just want to, go along, get along.
Right. Rodney, could you speak a little bit more to ancestral healing and how a person might go about, doing that, and again, like how important that is for us now to be able to do our work.
Well, part of it is understanding the subtleties of your own soul and blood and bones, because what's coming up in your waking consciousness, what's coming up from your subrealms, see? And so if you're ignoring those subtleties, those little nudges coming up from the subrealms in context to your bloodline, you're not going to step into that healing. If you're continually pushing it down or ignoring it or just bypassing it, see? That can come up in a lot of different forms in a lot of different ways. And mine came up a lot in my dream space,
Right.
in context to actual, interface with, with that bloodline that I'm in, that, I'm in, that I'm in, Tyr, Odin, Frigg, Freya, being part of that in context. I've had interface with all those, not only in dream space, but also in waking consciousness.
Yeah.
Not saying that is a big deal, but it is a big deal to me personally, to be able to have that type of interface and to be able to look at it and then work with those energies to the actual mythos to uncover who I am.
Yeah.
See?
So some kind of a practice, right, of meditation, of mindfulness, of tuning in, maybe some psychedelics or some connecting in nature, or however you get to that place.
There are so many ways that you can do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could make a list of things, stepping into any type of psychedelic on a micro dosing level, even, that is something that you can do. You don't have to blast out your mind to some kind of psychedelic experience that's going to blow you away. That's not the point of it. Maybe somebody needs that. I mean, obviously I needed it because it happened to me, but at certain times, maybe you just need to be able to have a little more neurotransmission going on in context to pathways. And so these type of microdosing things do help to forge new pathways into your thinking.
Yeah. Another angle of what you're saying, when you're saying really like study your blood and your bones and your, the somatic messaging.
Yes, right.
Right. And I've had the thought that if we want to know our ancestors, what we really need to do is know ourselves, because we are carrying the memory of our ancestors, and it's in our bodies.
Yeah.
It's in our, probably our dreams, and it's in our astrology.
It's in your astrology, it's in your body, it's in your spiritual DNA, it's in your soul codes, genetics, it's in the blood code genetics, it's in all those. There's a myriad of ways that it can come to you. And, literally it can come to you in so many different ways. I mean, I remember being, I had a painting business, and I remember this guy, I mean, big beard, had a patch on his eye, sitting outside a Quick Trip. And I'm walking from the gas pump, and I got like $20 to my name. And I'm putting $10 in my gas tank because I need $10 to eat on. And I was going to the job, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, I'm so broke, And so I walk out of Quick Trip, and I hear this inner voice say, give that $10 to the homeless guy. So I walk up to the homeless guy. He stands up and he says, can I help you? I'm thinking to myself, I'm helping you, dude. And so I said, I had this inner voice tell me to give you my last $10. So here it is. And I handed the $10. So he walks inside the Quick Trip, gets changed, and then he walks out and he says, follow me. And I followed him outside, and there was this field, and it was just like right outside the Quick Trip. And it was undeveloped land. And then as I'm following him, he turns around and says, you need this more than I do. He kept $1 and he gave me back $9.
Oh, wow. What a story.
And I'm looking at the $9, right? And I look down at the $9 and I'm like, why the hell is he giving me the $9? And I look back up and the motherfucker's gone.
Wow.
I'm looking, where the hell did he go? I'm in an open field.
In the 9. And
On
like
the
with the eye
9.
patch, like I'm thinking about Odin almost like in disguise. What's going on there, man? Like shit.
Right. So
Damn,
this is what I'm talking about. Those are those subtleties that come up inside of you, that inner voice, that God voice, right? That's telling you to do something that's going to set you on your ancestral healing. That's just one incident. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's subtle in some of this where you just really have to be mindful, very present.
Right. Exactly. You got to be present, and I got to admit, I was dropping into a little victim mentality money-wise when I was dealing with this. So, of course, it's the 10, the 10th gate. The 10 is what representing Saturnian aspect in context, right? So it was a lesson to me as well. Now I had the choice not to hear that, or to hear it and ignore it, hear it and deny it, hear it, say it's bullshit, or just press it down, or just walk away and go about my business because that's my last $10. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have a choice every time when these things present themselves to you, and they could lead to some type of lesson, spiritual experience that you need to go through, something that's going to reroute your brain chemistry. It's going to reroute, certain aspects of your life in general that could be literally life-changing. Just that one nudge, that one listening to that inner God voice.
Yeah.
See?
And I think for me, what it's also done is it's opened up like pouches of emotion. And I feel like I've done grieving. It's not just about my grieving, but like grieving for my ancestors' tears, and acknowledging, there's just sort of like a seeing them in a way that I think I resisted seeing. Just seeing the story, the line, I think has power. And then with that, I think comes some emotion, and also a sense of like compassion and integration of a part of yourself. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something.
Well, it's like this. I mean, it's one thing to be dealing with your own emotional aspect and trauma that's coming up. It's another thing to deal with the bloodline trauma that you're in, and ancestral trauma when it comes up. And that's what people are afraid of.
Yeah.
They are afraid of that because of the immense amount of pain that sets in that blood in context to what? To the slaughter of our kind.
Yes.
To even taking it back to, all the way back to, the betrayals that took place.
And then all of the cycles of our own involvement, from our pain into creating harm. I mean, it's the whole picture.
It is.
But I think it is really key to go to the most beginning you can, where you can see the loss, the betrayal. Yeah, I think it's very profound.
And that's how we transmute, because when we are stepping into that position, that's the Aquarian energy. That's the water bearer. And so what are we able to do? We're able to take the collective energy as mages, right? And this is Pluto and Aquarius, and begin to transmute the energy into transformation, and then run it through your heart core intelligence and pour that back out upon the planet. See, that's the Aquarian energy to this truth of who we are, by being able to work through our own individual shadow aspects that we've been doing now for years, and coming into that place of maturity now, where we can take this next 20 years now and begin to bring that transmutation process to the planet. And this is what this is signaling with this winter solstice. It's telling us this is the signal to setting up. Because look, Saturn and Jupiter, 0 degrees Aquarius 2020, set up 140 to 50 year cycle in context to the Earth signs, conjunctions, and squares. So we are looking at a 140 year cycle to the ethers with Saturn and Jupiter in the air element. Whoa.
That's a long cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
Big work ahead.
Yeah, but what's longer are these generational cycles. And yeah, like for me personally, I'm having difficulty trying to like remember either past life experiences or like connect to the blood codes, fire letter codex, and all these things that correspond to like the ancient ancestry or just immediate, relatives and all these things. Like I'm like Yugoslavian, Italian, a little Russian, Ukrainian, possibly, and like German, and like Scheisse, man, what do I do? Yeah, like, or what do people do? How could they actually initiate themselves towards like?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, again, going back to what's coming up within from your subrealms into your waking consciousness. And being aware of that, putting yourself in the position where you're not opening, but you're bringing your unconscious, subconscious online so that you can tap into it. This is the Neptune energy and Pisces energy. Isolating yourself at times, being hermit, so that you can actually step into that energy and drop out the distractions and bring yourself into a place of a week, 2 weeks, setting that aside for yourself and actually setting yourself up so that you can tap into those ancestral roots and what's going to present itself to you. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, and
we're
what was
doing
going
these
on
things
recently with was Neptune in retrograde for a hot minute?
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, Neptune's going to be moving into Aries here pretty soon. So, we're going to be running this 27, 28, 29 degrees for a while. Neptune, which is a very strong position, to the aspect of our healing, and it's squaring off with the galactic center at Sagittarius at 26, 27 degrees. See, right now. So when we're looking at that energy, we're looking at what? We're looking at the galactic purpose or our galactic heritage that's actually on the line here. See? And so, when we start to look at the galactic spiral in context to what we have our soul codes integrated, we have to look at, then you can look at your chart and look and see what stars are conjunct or that type of thing. When you're looking out beyond the 12 gates into the, like I've got my Venus is conjunct Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, that type of thing. So it's like, okay, so why is that? What is that purpose of, why is that star, why is my Venus conjunct that? See? And so that gives me a something that I can dive into and look at in context to that and say, okay, so this is where, it's affecting me in my Venus construct and consciousness to the planets inside of me, because the planets are inside of us. That's what people got to get their head wrapped around. But we're looking at the projection of what's inside the mind of all. So when we're seeing all this UFO stuff and drone, all this crap, right, that's going on, right? They're trying to bring the collective mind into a place of distraction outside of ourselves, so we never go inside. We never go into the internal journey of our own universe.
Yeah. And then just to clarify, what is the risk of not doing this work? Like, what are the consequences if we don't step up?
the consequences, well, okay, so we're going to get the AI timeline. It's already presenting itself. We're already on it. It's on. It's I mean, there's it's just the way that it is. But it doesn't mean that the timeline that we're representing in context to taking it back to our ancient future and what we represent here can't flourish and have its space to overtake or bring that into a space where it is prevalent. And this is where we have to make an impact. And this is what's signaling now. Okay? In context to the setup with the T-square on the world axis.
So when you were talking about there's more separation happening, were you referring
Yes.
to sort of the potential of like reclaiming our ancient future versus like following this AI timeline?
That's correct. Yeah, because we're gonna see a separation between the organic and the artificial. There's going to be more separation take place between that next year, and it's going to be clear because people are going to have to start to make choices because they're going to start integrating and giving us certain aspects that are going to be introduced into the collective mind that people are going to have to make choices on, just like they did the needlecraft. Okay, they made, there was a choice people had to make with that, right? So what are we looking at now? There's going to be choices next year that people are going to have to make in context to the timeline.
Right. Yes, and I think this distinction you're drawing between the organic and the superficial, or the natural and the artificial, is something that more of us should be talking about, and being specific about these choice points and the significance of those choices.
Well, look, they set us up with Star Wars. I mean, when you're looking at Star Wars, what are you looking at? Cloning technology. You're looking at all types of artificial intelligence, all types of alien entities on the planet. I mean, they set us up in context to that a long time ago, right? They were showing us something to what? To the cycle, And so the Jedi were like a lost breed, when at the beginning of those, it's like, well, who the hell are they? Oh, there's only like a few left, man,
Right.
But see, we can't be like that. We have to understand that the collective mind of the Jedi is something totally different than what is going on right now. And that deals with the physical, mental, and spiritual connection that you have to the force itself. Getting into this, and that's what this is talking about in context to setting up that T-square and what we're dealing with right now, and this grand cross that happens to be the pinpoint of Saturn in what? In Pisces. See? And what is it doing? It's opposing that Virgo moon in context to this. Service to others. So when we're looking at this, right, what's being set up here, right, that square off, we're looking at that square off in these mutable signs, because this is all mutable. This is what we call a mutable grand cross. Okay, so we're all in the mutable signs. So that means that we have to learn how to be pliable and mutable in the midst of all of the adversity and chaos, and be able to work with this chaos magic, bring it into a space where we bring the order of this Jedi energy into manifestation. And the only way we're going to do that is if we come together and people get out of their narcissistic bullshit. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, whatever. I don't give a shit who you are. I really don't care. Are you on board to change the course of this fucking planet? See, that's what this is telling us right now. I mean, really, it is on, guys. Going into next year, it's on.
Yep. Thanks for the wake up call, Rodney. Shaking us up.
and
Yeah.
and 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 this is what we're supposed to be doing as trumpeters of the realm. This is sounding the clarion call, the trumpet into the ethers in context. And I'm not talking about the trumpet and all that bullshit in Revelation. I'm talking about the trumpet, the sound of high frequency.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
That's
that.
what I'm speaking. When I was a kid, man, you know what I used to do? I played trumpet, and I would get on the roof of my house and I would play my trumpet over the whole neighborhood.
Oh, cool.
And people would come out on their porches and listen to me play.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is my coming out of my childhood unconscious subconscious mind. See?
Yeah.
And this is what we do. That's a non-conformist act.
Yes.
But it's also a prophetic act.
Yeah.
See?
And maybe an ancestral calling, right?
It is. Yeah, exactly. Because it's bringing forth something into the ethers that is having an impact and effect. And those who are meant to hear it will hear it. See?
Yeah.
It will spark something. It will touch something. It will ignite something. See?
Yes.
And that's kind of who we are. We're the igniters of the realm. We're the initiatory aspects that are brought in. We come in to do this is our purpose.
Yes.
Our purpose is to ignite others.
Yes.
And then what do? Then they pick up the baton, and then they ignite someone. It reminds me of the two towers. Where the fire gets ignited because they're trying to make a call, and then they ignite because they see that ignited. They ignite the next one and the next one, so that the people who need to see it get to see the fire. See, and that's how we have to be as mages. We have to be that initiatory igniter, because we've ignited ourselves. Now we have to ignite others. We have to be in service to others like that. See?
Yeah, and along this pathwork, people can fall off or get jaded and this and that, and it's paramount to keep that torch lit. Keep that fire burning within ourselves as well, right?
It is, because
It's
once
a reminder
once it's ignited, you have to cultivate it.
Yeah.
You have to keep putting fuel into the fire. You've got to begin to, continue to cultivate that spark into a fire, into a blaze, into a bonfire, into a huge fire, so that others can see that ignition. See, that becomes the witness of the realm itself.
Yes, I love that. So poetic, really, how you just. But I have a question. You mentioned the trumpet as a clarion call, a frequency, and then I know you're a musician, and I'm curious. I think of the quadrivium with mathematics, geometry, music, astronomy.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
What is your, I was thinking, how would you describe maybe the value, the purpose? How does music play into this ability to step into our calling or transmute energy or affect others? I don't know. Any comments?
I think it depends on your templating as well. Like with me personally, music is a huge catalyst for me to connect to the higher force, because I can throw something on and be in the shittiest of moods, and just being pissed off or whatever, and have a lot of, whatever going on. I can throw on something I'm going to connect with. And the next thing I know, man, all of a sudden that is clearing. It's helping me clear, and then it ignites it. And then because of the sound, it's the sound. See, it's a sound field. I all of a sudden start getting these epiphanies. I start stepping into my higher self, communicating. I get my connection to my heart. My heart vortex opens back up. Now I'm back, with my, clearing out my auric field. Music becomes a huge catalyst, depending on, what it's representing. And so, I'm not talking about, got my girlfriend and all that shit. I'm talking about spiritual music that's you're going to be able to connect with, that is going to be able to bring you into a space where you can use that as a catalyst or cause point to get into ceremony, to get into ritual. Every day is a ritual, guys. We can set aside time for a ritual and actually, really do it and lay it down. But your life becomes that ritual. Your life becomes that ceremony every day.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to live it.
It seems that music could also link you to ancestral memory too, right?
Absolutely, because that's yes. And I listen to a lot of Nordic Norse aspect music. I can tell you that my Pandora came up and said that, Wardruna was the #1 station that I listened to. And just because I connect with it. And it helps me to kind of touch in or dial things in. You know what I mean? There's other stuff I listen to too, but that has really helped me, more hypnotic type of stuff. Some people, they're maybe on metal. I don't know. That doesn't do it for me, but maybe it does it for somebody else. And that's what I'm talking about. It just depends on your personality, who you are, your templating, what works for you, So that's what you have to find out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that it stirs the emotions, right? And you can, it may even awaken blocked memory or emotions you suppressed, and really be part of that clearing.
And that is so true. I've had some times lately where, I've had certain transits, certain things taking place that have been pointing to some pain that I've still been hanging on to, that has been very deep, very, very, there, that I haven't really dealt with. You think you've done some work, and then all of a sudden, the setup happens, and then it points to it and says, oh, what about this? And so then you gotta take it to the mirror, you gotta take it to the heart, you gotta feel it. And then once you feel all that, you get into it, you get into the midst of it, then you forgive yourself. Then you bring that into a space of transmutation and learn how to love yourself through that aspect. Self-validation, self-love, self-discovery,
reliance,
validation, all of that.
Yeah.
Bring that into that space and realize that, wait a second, that was a choice I made in that level of consciousness that I was in. I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
That version of me doesn't exist anymore because of who I am right now.
Yeah.
But you're still a cool ass funky musician, right?
Exactly.
An amazing astrologer and mystic, the mage. So, Rodney, I know you've had a long day, and I'm so glad for you to take some time out to speak with us, and like to give you the floor to share anything else significant that you'd like to share, particularly about this crossroads that we're in, and again, then also share where people can find your work.
So pretty much the theme of this year, getting into the winter solstice, is going to be claiming your freedom, your human rights, your rights, your cosmic rights as a mage, realizing where those have been basically either you've been cut off from, or you've allowed certain things to step on those without drawing the boundaries that you need to draw, which is what Capricorn is all about as well, is drawing boundaries, and so those rights that you have as a universal sovereign soul, you've got to claim those. You have to realize that it's time to step up to the next level in claiming those and operating in that truth. This is also the energy of revolution, because of how things are being set up in context. We are re-evolving revolution, or revolving into a space of creating a collective energy of mages, Jedi, whatever you want to call us. This is what this is starting to signal. And so this is why we need to connect on another level here without allowing our Aries shadow aspect side, our narcissistic tendencies, to rule over us. But stepping into that positive light side of Aries, our freedom, our sovereignty, the ignition of our special gift, our special self, who we are, that we can input into that collective mind of Jedi, of mages in context, and coming into a higher relationship with each other. And this is what this is signaling and telling us this year, coming into 2025, that we are going to need each other coming up. It's telling us that we could no longer be an island unto ourselves.
Yeah. You know, the message that you're sharing with us is very in alignment with the message that our previous guest, Hector Combo, was telling us, you know, the importance of real heart-based relationships, connections, and, you know, relating with each other at a deeper level of love, really, and coming together to solve problems instead of working against each other, right?
Right, because if you spell revolution backwards, revolve, it's lover.
Awesome.
Lover. See,
Yeah.
you become a lover of truth.
Yeah.
You become a lover of how you treat other people.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody has to line up with your theology or who you are or what you think or any of that stuff. It's the truth that we are lining up with in context.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Loving life itself and valuing it for all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Looks like they're knocking at my front door.
Yeah.
Practice.
All right, Rodney, perfect timing. That was a great
guys.
summary. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Okay, thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, our
Always,
pleasure.
Rodney, good one. Much pleasure, brother.
Bye.
Every 2,000 years, the constellations change shift. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. The sign of peace. We are moving out of Aries, the sign of war, and into the age of Aquarius. Classically personified in human format, Aloe Black's the doormat, welcoming adversaries who step to that which I formulate. I gravitate like the earth and align the cosmic junction when the planets converse.